What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another car review. This is of course the all-new 2020 Jeep Gladiator. Huge thanks to Jeep for flying me out here to beautiful California to review the brand new Gladiator for you guys today. So about the Gladiator, well, it is all new and it is really awesome that Jeep has finally come back with a pickup truck after being out of the market for so many years. And so from the front here, it looks just like the brand new Wrangler that came out last year. And although the looks and a lot of the components are shared, there's a lot that is not shared with the Wrangler. The entire back end is completely new and actually shares more with the Ram 1500 than it does a Wrangler. So up front here, you do have a lot of Wrangler components. You still have the very familiar face with the round headlamps up front there, and you know, the same type of grille, although the grille openings are a little bit wider here on the Gladiator versus a Wrangler, so it has better cooling here for the Gladiator to help with towing and things like that, more truck-like things than the Wrangler usually does. And so it looks really cool up front there though. You have a metal front bumper there with a spot that you can actually remove a plate and put a winch in the stock bumper, which is awesome. They have included that. Now this one is the Overland trim, so it's not quite as off-road ready as the Rubicons and stuff like that. Those you can get 33-inch tires on, and the fenders are actually about 2 inches higher, so you can actually fit 35 tall tires on it if you want. And so awesome though with the Overland here. Of course, it's still trail rated and still looks awesome. Going down to the sides and the back here, you'll see that again, it's very much similar to the shape of the Unlimited versions of the Wrangler. You have the same type of doors, same fenders, all that kind of stuff is shared with the Wrangler. Overall, it's 31 inches longer than a Wrangler Unlimited with a 19.4-inch longer wheelbase. Another interesting thing to note about the Gladiators, all of them are convertibles. So you either have a hard top like you see on this one, or you can have a removable soft top, and that will slide back and is a little bit easier to remove than this hard top is. So they're all convertible, which is great, which means you can take the doors off, fold down the windshield, take the roof off, and have a very, very open air experience that you cannot get with any other truck on the market, which is a very cool feature. Going out back there, you have a 5-foot bed that is very Jeep-like. It's just, I love the Jeep badging there on the back. Still has the same kind of signature Wrangler type taillights there. And so there's a bunch of convenient hookups there with some D-rings in the back there to tie things down, secure things, put tonneau covers on, all that type of stuff. And should be a very usable bed. You can fit like 95% of most dirt bikes in the back there and things like that. And so from every angle, I think, it's totally Jeep, but totally a truck as well. And so it isn't a compromise in any way, really. It stays true to the Jeep formula, and I think it looks fantastic. As for the interior of the Gladiator here, well, it is very, very similar, basically identical to the Wrangler, but that's a good thing because the new Wrangler interiors, they did such a good job. It is such a massive improvement over the old ones, and so even compared to other mid-sized truck competitors, this interior is really pretty competitive in most ways. So first off, sitting down in these seats, now this Overland one has these cloth seats, but they're still a very nice cloth. It's a little bit on the rougher side, but feels like it would be very durable, but they're still very comfortable seats. They actually have pretty good bolstering too for a Jeep, that's not supposed to be going around corners fast or anything. I mean, you have really nice thigh bolstering here, and then even torso support is really good. And so overall, they're actually really soft, comfortable seats. They have adjustable lumbar support, and so really well done there. Next is the steering wheel here, which is nicely leather wrapped in the Gladiator. And so this one, just has a few buttons on it here. It's a nice, simple design. Has a great 9-3 grip, nice tiny little 10-2 notches, but does have those, and a really nice looking and feeling wheel. You have the real metal plated trim here around it and everything. Feels really great. Next are the gauges, which are pretty nice and simple here in the Gladiator, but they do look very good. So you have all the readouts that you want, obviously the basic analog dials there with a nice large digital portion in the middle there. And like other FCA vehicles, it's really great how you have so much information packed into that little screen. I mean, it'll give you all the stuff you want as far as like audio, navigation, all that type of stuff, but you can also have all the vehicle data you want as well. So you have all the normal stuff like all your gauges for the temperatures for everything. And you even have a few off-road menus there as well, so it'll be able to show you the angle that the vehicle is currently sitting at and all that type of stuff. And so overall, really great gauges. Coming over to the center here, you have in this one a nice large 8.4-inch Uconnect touchscreen infotainment system. In some lower trims, you can get a 7-inch screen, and I believe there's also a base radio as well. You have to go up to one of those two touchscreens in order to get Apple CarPlay, but it's not super high up in the range or anything. Even on the low trims, you can get a touchscreen infotainment system if you want the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability. And it's a really nice, simple, it's the Uconnect menus, which is so easy to use, so quick and responsive. The navigation maps hookups are great. You know, it's so easy to go through the radio stations. You have a basic tune knob and volume knobs that are nice and large. And so it's just so simple to use and really refreshing with a lot of really complex systems and other manufacturers these days. I love the Uconnect system, and I'm glad this has it as well. Coming down, you have your climate controls as well as the volume and tune knob. And I also love all the metal trim around here. You have real actual screws here in this, so everything is authentic. Nothing is fake in here. You know, the controls are a little bit more rubbery here, but that's appropriate for a Wrangler. And just, you know, a few buttons here, and then coming down, you'll see your window switches, because of course the doors do come off, so they have to have the window switches here in the center. And then you also have a power outlet, and then you have a USB jack, a USB-C jack, and also an auxiliary jack there. And then beneath that, you'll see your auxiliary hookups. You can, you know, have those toggle whatever stuff you add on. And then you'll see this tiny little pocket, which you can probably fit the key or something in there. It is rubberized and has a lip, so you can, you know, make sure that small stuff stays in there. And so it's usable, even though it's not large. Otherwise, you know, there isn't a whole lot of other places to store things here. You do have two nice rubberized cup holders here with a little slot in between them, and so that's great for holding your phone or something. And since it's rubberized, it's also not hard, so if you put your phone in the cup holder without any kind of case or something, it still won't really scratch it up, which is kind of nice considering a lot of other vehicles have plastic cup holders that can scratch your phone. So they knew that people put their phones in cup holders, and so it's nice that they have incorporated that little improvement. Otherwise, in the doors here, you just have a net, which actually can expand enough that you could throw a bottle in there or something like that. So although it's not, you know, a nice chunky pocket, having that net actually works really well and is a great idea. And then coming over to the center here, you have the center armrest, which is nice and softly padded, although the material doesn't feel super luxurious. But again, we're not in a fully luxed out version of a Gladiator, so that's okay. And anyway, you open that up, and it's a two-tiered setup. So in the first tier here, you have a couple of your tools to take the roof off and stuff, which is cool. And this also is nicely rubberized here for that little area. And you could fit a smartphone or something in that top level. And then you open up this bottom one, and you'll see a very deep space, which is really great, and actually larger than even a lot of other competitors as far as space in here. You also see another USB jack in there, but that space is large enough you can actually fit a medium-sized iPad in there. Not the huge ones, but, you know, a normal-sized one will fit in there, which is really great. And so, you know, although there isn't a ton of space outside here, there's just so much in that center armrest that I think that really makes up for it. So plenty of places to store things here in the Gladiator. Backseat space in the Gladiator is also very good. Again, basically the same as a Wrangler Unlimited. And so that means me sitting behind myself, I'm 5'9", and I have about 3 inches of legroom to spare back there. It's a pretty comfortable backseat as well, but should be plenty spacious, and, you know, with the boxy roofline, you have plenty of headroom as well. And then as you look forward, you'll see all kinds of great hookups and stuff there. First off, you have dedicated air vents, and then you'll see 2 USB jacks, 2 USB-C jacks, and then a normal house current plug underneath that. And so tons of stuff. I mean, even a lot of mid-sized family SUVs don't have that many hookups and stuff back there. So that is awesome. So everyone can have their devices powered up or charging or whatever back there. You also see 2 more of those nicely rubberized cup holders there on the floor. And so that's great to have all those there. And you'll also see little smaller nets there and the pockets in the back. And then also there's a lot of versatile uses for that back seat. So the seats will fold flat if you want to have a flat area there and don't want to have stuff on top of the actual seats. And then the seat bottoms do actually flip up, and so they get nicely out of the way. And that's something a lot of other, you know, mid-sized trucks do as well. But I really like the cargo box you have there underneath of the seat there. And so you'll see it's actually lockable, which is very cool. You can use the same key you use for the rest of the vehicle to lock that box. So you can leave all your stuff in there, walk away from the vehicle, have everything still opened up here, and not have to worry about anyone getting in back there. You can have that all nicely secured, which is great. There's a few other things. You can see another little pocket there behind the seat back, and also you'll see a nice little bin. You can actually store all the bolts for whenever you take off the roof, which is very handy. Instead of just putting them in some bag or something, you have them all there, and it's nicely labeled with a diagram there showing you which bolts go to what, which makes it very easy, especially if you're a first-time Jeep owner, you know, to have that. And so just thoughtful little Easter egg type things that, you know, means they've put a lot of thought here into the Gladiator, and like they do in all the Jeeps they do. And so overall, just a fantastic back seat. And like I mentioned earlier, the truck bed here in the Gladiator is every bit as useful as a normal, any other mid-sized truck and their bed. So it's 5 feet long, has multiple tie-down points, it has LED lighting in it, power outlet back there as well, and you can also, with the tailgate there, you have 2 different positions for it, so that you can have it only open part way if you'd like, and it's fully damped as well, so it's not going to flip down abruptly or anything like that. And like I said, it should fit about 95% of most dirt bikes and stuff. So overall, a very, very usable bed back there, and you still get all the great Jeep interior bits here that make the Jeep fun, but then you still have the truck versatility, which is great. All right, so start and go for a drive. The Jeep keys here are very cool. The Gladiator has the gas can style key, which is awesome, and does have a little flip up there, and that's how you would lock the stuff in the back. But if this one is keyless access, keyless entry, and push button start with a proximity key, so you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off here in the Jeep Gladiator. So first thing you notice, well, it's a very similar view to what you have in any other Wrangler. You have this hood that you can see very clearly, but it's a very pretty short overhang there, so it's very easy to see. Of course, you have a very short dashboard here, so very easy to see as far as visibility goes. View out of the sides is great with these large square windows, and view out of the back is also great, either with this glass window like this hardtop version, or even if you have the soft top and you have kind of a plexiglass window back there instead, but that also has a very good view out of the back. Another thing that I'm noticing is the ride is pretty good. I think because you have this longer wheelbase, it's like 19 inches longer, so it's a huge difference over what you have with a normal Wrangler Unlimited. Even it gives you a much more stable and also smoother ride, I think, as well. Now, of course, it's still solid axles front and rear, and so it's still going to be a very truck-like ride. It's not going to be like any kind of unibody crossover or anything like that, but no one buys these to have a buttery smooth ride. It's all part of the experience here with the Jeeps, and the Gladiator in particular. There's plenty of options in the mid-size segment if you want a normal truck, but I like that this kind of feels a little more like a Jeep. You have pretty light steering, although I will say the steering seems a little more precise than it is in the Wranglers that I reviewed previously. So I think part of that is just that little bit of a weightier feel, and again, you can have, because of that longer wheelbase, you can have steering that's a little sharper, and you don't have to worry about pitching the vehicle on the short wheelbase like you do with the normal Wranglers, and so I think it actually feels a good bit better. Other things, you have nice responsive brake pedal, throttle is also very nice and responsive, and so it's actually really nice to drive. And even as just a normal daily driver, I think this is not that Wranglers are bad as daily drivers, but I think the Gladiator here is going to be even better. Another thing to mention, so we have already taken these off-road. Jeep set up an awesome off-road course, and it is really impressive what these things can do. Now, with the Rubicon version, now this is the Overland I'm in now, so you have about 1 inch less ground clearance, about 10 inches, but in the Rubicon you have 11 inches of ground clearance, and the breakover angles and everything are also all very competitive. And that's the thing, is Jeep kind of came into the midsize truck segment here with an advantage already, because these things are so legendary off-road. And so having the Jeep basis to start with and then adding the truck stuff on top of it just means you're gonna have a very, very competent off-roader. And I mean, we were going down like a little waterfall, and I mean all kinds of rough rocks, and it's very impressive. I mean, I'm not an off-road expert, I've only off-roaded a few times in my life, but I will say that it was very, very impressive. And again, it's something that I don't think any other mid-sized truck in this segment can accomplish. It was really, really impressive and very punishing on these vehicles as well. And in typical Jeep fashion, there's all kinds of different options you have depending on how much off-roading you want to do and how aggressive you want your setup to be. And of course, they're also going to have lots of Mopar accessories and things as well to further enhance your Jeep if you'd like afterwards. And in like the Rubicon, for example, you have sway bar disconnect, you have an off-road mode, which has a sand and a mud setting, and you can also lock up, of course, the different differentials, and you can either do front and rear or just the rear. And so I mean, for off-road people, again, I'm no expert when it comes to off-roading, but I will say that Jeep knows their fans, and so they made sure to tick all the boxes and make it so you can do whatever you want with your Gladiator. But turning out onto a main road here, let's see how the acceleration is in the Gladiator. So it it picks up and goes really well. The Gladiator here runs the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 engine, does 260 horsepower, 285 pound-feet of torque, and that's going to be the only motor available at launch. Now they will be having a diesel, a 6-cylinder as well. It's going to be available, diesel V6, and so that does 260 horsepower and I believe 445 pound-feet of torque. Now there wasn't any kind of 0 to 60 time listed for the Gladiator. I don't think that's most buyers' concern, but I think in the past, you know, it's usually been around, I think, 7.5 seconds or so. Now these are going to be a little bit heavier because of the longer, you know, frame and bed and all that kind of stuff. A couple things that are of interest though to Gladiator owners, I'm sure, especially ones that want to go out and you know, go outdoors and tow things and load up that truck bed there. You can have a payload of 1,600 pounds here in the Gladiator, and you can tow a best-in-class 7,650 pounds here, which is again very, very impressive considering a lot of the others, you know, usually will tow 5,000 or something like that. So this is far and away better, and means that it's going to be a very, very stout performer. If you need to tow things, you need to load up that bed, you can certainly do that. Now, as far as the curb weights go for the Gladiator, if you go for the base trim with a manual, those are about 4,650 pounds. If you go up to the most heavy Rubicon with an automatic, that's the heaviest configuration you can get, those are 5,072 pounds. So that's about as heavy as it's going to get there. And you know, I think compared to a lot of competitors, that's also not bad. And again, all that off-road stuff you get in those Rubicons is heavy, and that's why you have that pretty big jump up in weight there of a couple hundred pounds. One thing you do get with the Wranglers here though, because of the very vertical windshield, and even though this one has the hard top, you still do get a little bit of wind noise. You can probably hear as it's blowing, and it's a little bit of a windy day, but not too bad. And so again, that just kind of comes with the territory. Also, you know, with this Overland here, we have some more normal sized tires that aren't going to be super noisy, but of course if you do go up to the Rubicons and stuff with their knobbier tires, then you're going to have a lot more road noise. So obviously, you know, this isn't probably going to be quite as refined as some of the competing trucks as far as noise levels and things like that go, and even as far as possibly you know, stability, because you know, you have a little bit of a boxier shape here than you have with some of the other trucks, but it still is a very nice cruiser. And again, I can't state it enough, that longer wheelbase just transforms the driving experience here. A few other things here though, as far as driving goes, is that you know, this is running the 8-speed automatic transmission. Now you can get a 6-speed manual in a lot of the trims as well, which is awesome. You can get a manual, and that they continue to offer that, because I think the only other one that offers it is the Tacoma, and even in that it's a little more limited, I think, than it is here in the Gladiator. And so the 6-speed manual is cool if you do want the manual, but I think honestly this automatic really maximizes this engine well. And again, most people aren't wanting to be, you know, doing a kind of aggressive driving in their Jeep. So although the manual, it gives you higher engagement, I think this automatic is really great. And being 8 speeds, you get slightly better fuel economy with it as well. Speaking of fuel economy here though, now if you do go for the automatic transmission, you get slightly better in some areas and slightly worse in others. So you get 17 in the city, 22 on the highway for a combined average of 19. Now if you go for the manual, you get one less in the city, so you go down to 16, but then you do get one more on the highway for 23, the same combined average of 19 though overall, regardless of which transmission you get. But I really like this 8-speed auto. So it has a manual mode, you can shift it through if you'd like, but honestly it just does a great job leaving it in automatic and letting it do its own thing. I've never been waiting around for it, I've never, you know, been annoyed by it or anything. It's a really good, you know, strong performing transmission here. And so I think honestly, now you do have to obviously pay an upcharge, so that's another thing. You do save money going for the manual, but if you're willing to pay the upcharge for the automatic here, I think it's a really great automatic. So I mentioned at the beginning about how there's some RAM components there in the back end of the Gladiator here, and so that's one thing you also appreciate, I think, out on the road here with handling. So it has the same upper and lower control arms as the Ram 1500, and even they said like the same geometry as far as the setup for those control arms. And so, you know, that's why, although yes, it looks like a Wrangler, a lot of that back end basically is RAM. And so because of that, you know, it doesn't, that's why I'm saying it doesn't drive like a Wrangler in some of those areas where you have a little bit more stability, a little bit more of a more traditional ride, but again, it still feels very much like a Jeep. They still maintain that flavor to it, but it really helps, and especially out on the highway, that's one thing I've noticed as well. You know, cruising at higher speeds is a little less sketchy than it is in a Wrangler, where you know you can go up to some higher highway speeds and not have to worry. And you know, it is very, very stable, and they did a really good job of setting this up very well. So you have the Jeep feel, but you have all the great stuff that you want out of a mid-sized truck and how you expect it to handle. And so they did a really good job of marrying those two. Speaking of handling though, here in the Gladiator, it is a really good handler. Again, for something that's set up the way this is, and something that's so good off-road with 2 solid axles and everything, it's still, around these corners here, it really is, you know, pretty flat. I mean, obviously you're limited by the tires and the ground clearance and stuff, but it does a really good job. You know, there probably are some other competitors in this segment that will handle a little bit better, but then you give up some of the off-road capability. So that just comes down to what your personal preference is and what you want. So now we're out on the highway, and you can kind of hear some of the wind noise now. You can get, I'm doing about 65 miles per hour now, and there is some, but honestly it's not too bad. And you know, once you turn on the radio and stuff, you hardly even notice it. So I think this is actually a really nice cruiser, and out of all the Jeep, you know, family here, between the Wrangler and the Wrangler Unlimited and now the Gladiator here, I think the Gladiator would definitely be my pick as far as nicest highway cruiser. So I really love the way they set the Gladiator up. Honestly, I'm pleasantly surprised. I was expecting it to be, you know, a little less refined than it is, honestly. So I'm pleasantly surprised with how nice this drives. The last thing I want to mention here is the pricing of the Gladiator. So the base sport trim is going to be starting at $33,545, and that's for, you know, manual, and that's like crank up windows, no power, all that kind of stuff. So that's what you get with the base one there, and then there's also a destination charge of like $15.95 on top of that as well. So realistically, you're looking at more around $35,000 after the destination charge there. And then if you want to go up to like a Rubicon and, you know, get the more off-road kit, and that also includes some other additional standard equipment, those are going to be about $43,500 before that destination charge. So you can see how prices climb up fairly quickly, and that's again before you add on a bunch of options. So the launch edition of the Gladiator they're going to have available, those are basically fully loaded, and those are $60,815. So that's about where you can expect a fully loaded Gladiator to get. I'm sure there's other Mopar accessories or a few other option boxes you might be able to tick to even get a little bit higher than that. But it is it gets pricey up there towards those higher ones. But again, that is a vehicle that's going to be so much more capable off-road, and all that off-road stuff is expensive. That's why Wranglers can get expensive too. Like the Wrangler I reviewed last year was a cloth 2-door, pretty base model Wrangler with only a few options, and that was still $40,000 for a cloth 2-door Wrangler. So I mean, they do get pricey, but you're paying for that off-road prowess. Now, if you don't care about off-road stuff, you know, there's other competitors you can even, you know, get a Ram for similar money. And so if you don't care about that off-road stuff, you can get something really luxurious like the Ram 1500s, which is a phenomenal truck now, and really, really nice. But you know, you can play in a similar pricing category with those. So again, just obviously this is targeted at people that want to go off-road, want to be a little more adventurous than a Ram owner or something like that. And for those people, I think, again, a lot of them don't need a fully loaded, they don't need all the bells and whistles, so they'll be very happy with, you know, one of these probably around $40,000 or so, and I think that's a lot easier to manage than those fully loaded, you know, $60,000 ones that are pretty hardcore. One thing that's important to mention, though, about the pricing of any of these Jeeps, you know, with the Wrangler family, and I'm sure will apply to the Gladiator as well, is resale values. They hold their value extremely well, and there's very few other vehicles in this segment that do. Really the only one is the Tacoma is the only other one that does. But I think, you know, with the Gladiator here, I think it'll be similar to the Wrangler, where they'll hold their value. So yes, you might be paying, you know, a steep price if you buy one new, but it should hold its value pretty well, so that if you do ever want to get rid of it for whatever reason, you know, you will be able to recoup a little more money than you would probably with some of the competing trucks that will depreciate normally, and you know, you lose a lot more money on those than you probably will on this. But after a whole day now of driving the Gladiator, I do have to say that I think this is by far the most fun mid-sized truck in the segment. It is just, You know, it has this more playful and adventurous character to it that I think, you know, just makes it so much more fun, where some of the others can be a little more bland in their experience. I think it just, every time you look at this, it's exciting. Every time you hop in it and you see the hood, and you can, you know, have the convertible roof and the removable doors and all kind of stuff, it just, even if you don't do those things on a regular basis, it just screams fun. And so it makes every trip in one of these Gladiators a little bit of an adventure and a little bit more fun and exciting and out of the ordinary than in a normal mid-sized truck. And I think that is huge, and one of the reasons why all Jeeps really are, you know, such strong sellers, and why people adore them so much, even if they don't go off-road all the time. It's just a little more fun, and that's very much appreciated. And I'm sure they're not gonna have any trouble selling any of these Gladiators either, because there's already a huge amount of demand, and I'm sure for a while in the beginning they're going to have more demand than supply. So you know, these do go on sale in May. That's when you'll be able to start buying one at dealers, and you can of course order one on as well, and, you know, custom order it, and those will be prioritized over the dealer stock, which is great. So yeah, it's I think it's going to be very exciting. I'm so happy to see that Jeep is back with a truck here, and huge thanks to Jeep as well for providing me with this opportunity, and providing me with my craziest off-road experience I have had to date. That was pretty wild going down that little bitty waterfall there. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on the Gladiator in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.